Hello again, this is Steve for LessonsOnlineTV. In this video, I'm going to try to introduce to you some simple, this is like the introductory video to modern Greek verbs. As I have said, verbs are the words that describe an action. In modern Greek, we have verbs that, we can divide verbs into some separate categories. Let's not go in depth, really, that's grammar. But let's start with the basics, like to think. This in English is a verb. It states an action. I am thinking. This is the action of thought in itself. And when you say I think, I am thinking, you're actually doing something. That's a verb. In Greek, verbs, it has some kind of importance. That's why I'm going to say that. We actually separate verbs by voice and by mood. This means something like, in English you have three different moods. You have indicative, subjunctive, and imperative. In modern Greek, I don't know if you have only these, but in modern Greek, we have only these three. It's indicative, subjunctive, and imperative. So, just like, in layman's terms, indicative states that something is happening. It's a statement of truth. Subjunctive might be a hypothesis. It might be an assumption. I'm not sure what else it might be, but it's definitely not a statement of truth. And imperative is an order, like, look at me. This is an order. It's not a statement, it's nothing. It's just do something. This does not change verbs a lot. Not necessarily. Imperative does. Subjunctive, it just takes verbs and changes them just a little bit. But active and passive voice, that's pretty important. Active voice shows that a verb does something, like I do an action, and my verb is in active voice. That means that I do something, and there is a receiver when it comes to my action. Like something's happening to somebody because of my action. Somebody is the receiver of it. Well, passive voice means that whatever I'm doing, it's probably coming back to myself. Whatever somebody's doing, it's coming back to him, to the same person. For example, like, I look at you. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. Okay? These are two different cases. In a sense, I look at you. I'm looking at you, right? You are a receiver of my action of looking. I'm looking at you. So this is an active verb. And you would use the verb in active voice in modern Greek. But if you say that I am looking at myself in the mirror, I can't think of a different way to say it in English. That's probably the way you say it. So in modern Greek, that can be substituted with one word, which means looking at myself, self-looking. This is passive voice. Like it's an action. I am looking, but the action of looking comes back to myself. This is not like, okay, let's say combing hair. I am combing my hair, right? That can have only one word. The whole thing, like 5 words, can be written into one in modern Greek. I am combing my hair. Because of passive voice, I can switch, I can place the receiver as myself using a suffix. That's how the verbs work. I'm just gonna start writing them right now. Let's take a simple verb, like I said combing. It's pretty normal. It's not irregular. It's irregular. I don't know. It's simple. That verb is called tenizo. I just picked this one. There are probably a lot more that are more useful, but this is gonna be good enough to actually explain some basic things. Just like everything, just like nouns, verbs have a suffix. Whenever you see o, this kind of o at the end, then this is like the most basic suffix for a verb ever. This is the most common way to refer to a verb. This means I comb, I am combing in itself. The suffix is this. Like the rest of it is a stem, and it works in the exact same way that, the same way you behave to nouns, like the same thing you do. You actually switch suffixes and the meaning changes. In this case, I'm just going to give you an example. a verb has like 3 different persons and 2 different numbers, as we call them. And like, it might be singular, right? Singular or plural. And first person, second, this is like the symbol for the exact same word as the top, third person. And for plural, it goes the same way, like first, second, third. Well, first person means like something like I. It refers to myself, and in the same way it's like I, you, he, she, it. This is exactly like the way we refer to them in modern Greek. When you say like third person singular of chtenizo, you actually refer to the thing that's going to be put here. Now, pay attention to these suffixes. These are like absolutely common. These are the most regular thing that you can find when it comes to modern Greek. Like, let me actually think of this as a table, okay? Singular is going to be up to here, and below this there's going to be plural. Now look at this. Chtenizo. I, chtenizo. I comb hair, not comb my hair. This is not passive, this is active voice. Because the suffix is this, okay? If now I actually switch omega with is, this is pronounced is, okay, not ace. I have said stuff about diphthongs. I hope you have gotten the hang of it. This means you comb. You do not. I don't have hair anywhere. You just comb. I don't know. It can be anything. Easy. Now my handwriting is not really that good, I know. But what I want you to see, this is it. Like, these are the suffixes. And, well, you might not remember them so easily. Like, this is the first time you see them, theoretically. It's the same thing, it's the same pattern with echo that I actually wrote in the basic verbs video, like, a long time ago. It's a pretty much standard pattern. This is exactly the conjugation, like, I comb, I, this is meant to be I, comb. You comb, he combs. You just don't need all of these. I, you, he, she, it. You don't need all of them. You just use the proper suffix. This is like a proper way of conjugating the verb. And this is exactly the kind of like mentality, the kind of philosophy, idea that you're going to have to do all of the different tenses and moods. You're just going to change suffixes. It doesn't get a lot harder, but, well, not a lot. It is harder as time goes by, and you actually see more tenses. There are like, I don't know, there are 7, 8 different tenses. There are a lot. And you actually need to remember all of them. They're not so hard to form. You'll see. But let's stick to the basics. I think I've already gone pretty much far away from the basics. I'm not sure. I hope I'm not really like tiring you. Now, this was active voice. If I wanted to say what I said before, like I am combing my hair, okay? First off, you're never gonna refer to your hair. You do not need to say that. Just because this kind of thing means I comb, well, I am combing myself. That means obviously that it's my hair. What else could it be? And the suffix, like it's pretty much the same thing with the stem and all. You just take the stem and add suffixes. In passive voice, you take the stem as always and you add ome. Then you zome. This means like Yeah, I'm combing my hair. That's exactly the thing. And let me write down this, write this down quickly. Now, this is going to be kind of complicated. Okay, this is like the most common, the most standard pattern you can find. These are the suffixes. Just memorize them. They fit pretty much everywhere on every regular verb. Of course, there are a lot that are totally irregular, but this should do for most regular verbs. If something is not regular, I will write it down. Ime, I am, is not regular at all. It doesn't even follow a pattern like this. It's totally like, it's in a world of its own. But this is like a common pattern. The problem was here. I have not said something yet. Well, this has two forms. Like in the same way that ime has two forms that can be isaste or iste when it comes to plural second person. And the same way you can say here tenisaste. Like this is an alternative form for this. Either will do. They're like equal. They're totally equal. It just depends on how you feel like saying it. If you feel like saying something short, you use this. I think this is the one I would prefer. Like iste, tenisaste. The other one sounds a bit too archaic, maybe. Well, let's actually get to the point. I've been given an example here. I hope it's good enough as an example. Modern Greek verbs can be identified by suffixes. They all have a stem and they're all conjugated by changing suffixes. That's all you need. You take the stem and you change it, and you change the suffix, you switch it for something else. We have two different numbers to different quantities, like singular and plural. It's either one or many. And we have three different persons. I, you, he, she, it, or we, you, they. As usual. It's not really that hard. It's the same thing in English, I think. And you can switch voices by switching the suffix. Of course, this is just a rule of thumb. This cannot be done everywhere. You cannot always switch this thing if it does not make sense. I cannot think of a verb right now, but I will definitely give an example at some point. You cannot give a passive voice meaning to something that is probably written like this, but it already has a kind of passive feeling. None come to mind. Do not get confused. The point is that you switch suffixes and you make a conjugation. You need a verb to make a sentence. Every sentence needs a verb. And you find your proper form for your verb through this kind of procedure. You switch suffixes. Of course, at some point I will show you all the suffixes. It's not that hard. It's hard to remember. It's not that hard. It's not a difficult procedure. It has a pretty standard method, as long as the verb is not irregular. So, if I go on, I'm going to say a lot of more things that are totally irrelevant. They're probably going to make things worse. So, I'm stopping this video right here. Next video is going to be adjectives, just to get the hang of basic things. And exactly the next video is going to be basic sentences, so that you can actually put these things together. At least elementary things, basic things. It doesn't matter. You just need to start getting used to the sound, the feeling of how a complete Greek sentence is. Okay? So, seeing how I'm done with this, I will see you in the next video.